Good afternoon, friends. Today is December 31st, 2020. Whatever that means for you this day. An auspicious time for us to take stock of things. Whatever the year end and year beginning looks like and feels like. This has been an unusual one for sure. One that we might look back on. There's a lot of talk of the COVID year and what we have been through and what we're looking forward to with 2021. And yet, I hope we can be patient because the scientists are telling us it'll be quite a while, maybe summer, till vaccines are ready for normal people, those of us in the regular populace, and that it will take a while. So 2021 will still be a year of COVID and of pandemic living in some effects. So I pray that you are well. I pray that you and your loved ones, your friends, can find ways to connect in this year-end time in ways that may be different than we would like or that we think of normally. I saw that they're still going to do the ball drop tonight, but it will not be with streets full of people. So we'll all be able to participate in it together if we wish. A little different. Year end, new year. There's been a lot of lists, songs, music, films, other things that have been the best or the worst of 2020. And so wherever this year finds you, we find ourselves kind of looking back and looking forward. And our very month, January, that starts tomorrow, is named after the Roman god Janus, which the image of Janus is of a two-faced image, one that looks back and one that looks forward. And so as we think about the turning of the calendar page, the turning of a year, going from the end of something to the beginning of something, that may feel kind of this both and of looking back and looking forward. And that makes me think of a song. In 1999, I'm a Gen Xer, right? So in 1999, a band called Semisonic had a hit song called Closing Time. I still love to hear it on the radio. The lyrics describe or speak of people as they prepare to leave their neighborhood pub and go back into their normal lives in the darkness of the night. But there's one line from the song that sticks out with me. I love to hear it. And it turns out that it did not originate with Semisonic. It originated with Seneca, a Roman stoic and writer who lived in the time of Jesus. And that line from the song is, everybody say it with me, every new beginning comes from some other beginning's end. Every new beginning comes from some other beginning's end. There's a lot to be thought about and written about and lived about in that. But that is a phrase that sticks with me and pops itself up every now and again as I'm going through things in life. Every new beginning comes from some other beginning's end. One of the scriptures for New Year or New Year's Eve or Watch Night, which is in the Christian tradition, what some churches will be celebrating perhaps tonight or tomorrow, is that famous Ecclesiastes 3. If you want to thrill your friends with some trivia, say Ecclesiastes. It sounds very good. And it's in the Old Testament of our Bible, and the Byrds in the 1960s made a famous song, To everything turn, turn, turn. And that comes from The text of that song comes from Ecclesiastes, so I'd like to share that. This is from the Common English Bible. It says, "There's a season for everything, and a time for every matter under the heavens. A time for giving birth, and a time for dying, a time for planting, a time for uprooting what was planted, a time for killing, and a time for healing, a time for tearing down, and a time for building up, a time for crying, and a time for laughing, a time for mourning, and a time for dancing, a time for throwing stones, and a time for gathering stones, a time for embracing, and a time to avoid embraces, a time for searching, and a time for losing, a time for keeping, and a time for throwing away, a time for tearing, and a time for repairing, a time for keeping silent, and a time for speaking, a time for loving, and a time for hating, a time for war, and a time for peace." Think about sharing those words through the years, sometimes at a funeral, a memorial service, or other times when we individually or as a community are thinking just very deeply about these seasons and the turnings in our lives, in our community, and in our world. So wherever you are, whatever the turnings are that you might be balancing or trying to live through or trying to get to the other side of something, may we hold these things that all of us may have moments when we can say, yep, I've felt that or done that, I've felt that or done that. And that in the complex tapestry of life and the universe, that they all appear. And what may feel like one to one person, the exact same thing may feel like the opposite to someone else. So it is an interesting prayer from the Bible that we're given. Ecclesiastes 3, if you want to look it up and read it over, say it, pray over it a bit as we're turning into this new year together. So I don't know about you, as I've been thinking back and again looking at all the articles and news headlines that are cropping up about this last year, and oh boy, we just can't wait. 2021 is going to be so much better. And for some of us, I do hope it is better. And yet I was talking to a colleague today and I said, one thing we forget, those of us in especially white middle class America who might have gone through a year with some inconvenience, even some difficulty for those of us who haven't been able to see loved ones or hug them or touch them. And yet, in the scope of all that's going on in the world, even before COVID and since, that there is very hard, painful stuff going on all the time. And I've been reminded about this as earlier this year, someone had recommended to me a documentary movie called The Cave. And I highly recommend it if you want to seek it out. It is about a doctor, and she is in Syria. Now, we don't hear about Syria as often anymore this last year with COVID taking over so much and then the elections taking over so much of our media air oxygen. But Syria is a place of great harm and strife for many, many, many people. And The Cave is a documentary that shows the life and the work of this doctor and her staff and her patients in a clinic in Syria. And it's called The Cave because the clinic is underground because of so much of the bombing that is so prevalent in the life. And it was just, as we've gone through this year, where again, there is hardship, there is pain, there are business owners and employees and families that have been stricken with economic distress and harm and food insecurity and income insecurity, and there are definitely people for whom I hope we are able to be not just thinking and praying for, but asking what we can be doing to work on the systems of our community and our nation and our lives to help those very basic needs. But for many of us, this has been a year of more inconvenience than dire harm. And I'm one of those. I mean, I have whatever suffering I have. I know that I haven't been able to see my parents. I haven't been able to see all of my family, to hop on a plane and go. Or we've made those decisions to not do that. But in the overall scope of things, I can go to the store. I can purchase the food I need. Doug and I, our Christmas to each other, we replaced some old TVs we had. Doug went to Costco and found a really good deal. So, we are able to do that on our budget as we plan, and we are able to tithe to the church. We're able to give to some other nonprofits or agencies of helping. We're able to do that. We're able to go fill up our car with gas. I mean, I recognize that we're in a pretty privileged position at the moment. So as we think about the turning of this year and what is before us, and there are a lot of people that just want to shut the door on 2020 and open up to the bright, sunny, perfect, good future of 2021. I want to say, wait a minute. First of all, 2021 is still going to be a hard year. In fact, the next year or two may be hard for many, many people as we figure out how to move forward through this pandemic. And secondly, I do hope that we can look at 2020 and what we may have experienced so far, and even the hardship. We've had people that have lost loved ones, not only to COVID or to other things, who have died and have had wonky experiences of death and grieving and funerals and other things because of this pandemic. Are there things that we can glean from this year to strengthen us? There's already talk about companies that I talked to a parishioner who works for Kaiser, big medical company, and they're in this big tall building in an expensive part of Denver, and we were just visiting. She says, what they found out is that there are most of the employees have been working at home since March, and we're finding out that in many instances that can be a productive way to work. So what is that going to look like? So I just am prayerful about how we see the future, how we see tomorrow, and if there are things we can glean and learn. I'm hoping that all these restaurants and businesses continue their curbside pickup and their online ordering and all these cool things that we've discovered that we can do to be able to stay connected and support the retail lives that we have. I don't know. I invite you to think about the things that have been hard for you, the things that have been painful, the things that underneath it all may have just been more of an inconvenience than an actual hurt compared to some other parts of the world or some other parts of our community. I think about the growth of those without homes, and I'm very concerned in the coming year as the eviction, the holds on evictions, as all of that comes due, and as income inequality and justice is not fully lived out in our communities. I'm very concerned about what that's going to mean for a lot of people. So I find myself not just giving thanks. People use phrases, I just give thanks for the blessings in my lives. Okay. I am in a privileged place. I live in a place that I can afford. That there are things that I have that others may not have access to. And so I hope that that stirring, again, back to that movie, The Cave, and just, it was such a visual, and just hearing the stories and seeing these people and realizing this is not fiction, this is going on right now, that this can stir us. There's a song, A Spirit of Gentleness, says, stir us from placidness. Spirit of restlessness, stir us from placidness. My prayer is that 2021, as we might slowly be able to emerge into the world a little bit more and with each other, maybe even with masks. One of my prayers is that we quit judging people for having masks. If you're not feeling well, or if you're have any kind of question, or if you're traveling or on a plane or going through a mall, or that's great. Put a mask on. I'm hoping that'll be something that stays with us. But wherever you are, my prayer is that you can give the true and deep grievings and loss and pain and suffering to God and to the universe, and to be able to name those and claim those, and to shed your tears and to raise your fists in anger. And that we can identify those of us that do have privilege in our lives and our community, to be able to do things that not everybody can do, to take, to be grateful for the blessings that we have and the things that we have, or the ability to move around. And also with that, coupled with that other side of Janice's face, right? It's a both and, is, what can I do about it? What can I do with this? What is God giving me that I can then give to the world? Because that is what, Jesus models for us. So as you pray about Ecclesiastes 3 and think about this new year, I'm going to close. I don't know what your rituals are. We've got some black-eyed peas we're going to be making for a meal tomorrow. That's a New Year's Texas tradition that I grew up with. It's supposed to bring luck. So whatever your traditions are, let's do them. I'd like to close with a song, but the song is based on a poem by Howard Thurman. Howard Thurman was a key figure in the life in the United States during the 20th century. He was an author, a philosopher, a theologian, educator, civil rights leader. He was an early leader and mentor in the nonviolence movement that shaped and included Martin Luther King Jr. And he has a poem called The Work of Christmas. And this is what it says. When the song of the angels is stilled, when the star in the sky is gone, when the kings and princes are home, when the shepherds are back with their flock, the work of Christmas begins. To find the lost, to heal the broken, to feed the hungry, to release the prisoner, to rebuild the nations, to bring peace among others, and to make music in the heart. And I grew up there. Jim Strathdee, Strathdee, Jim and Jean Strathdee. Jim is a songwriter that for decades has produced thoughtful, justice-oriented songs and inspirational songs. And Jim Strathdee wrote a piece called I Am the Light of the World. And it's often, I always think about it this time of year because of the New Year, but also this Epiphany Sunday, which is coming up this Sunday. We're celebrating Epiphany, which is when the star, the light of the star, guided the Magi, the kings, the outsiders, to follow and find Jesus. So I am the light of the world, and it's based on that Howard Thurman poem. So I'd like to close with that today. I am the light of the world. You people come and follow me. If you follow and love, you'll learn the mystery of what you were meant to do and be. when the song of the angels is stilled, when the star in the sky is gone, when the kings and the shepherds have found their way home, the work of Christmas is begun. To find the lost and lonely one, to heal that broken soul with love, to feed the hungry children with warmth and good food, to feel the earth below and the sky above. I am the light of the world. You people come and follow me. If you follow and love, you'll learn the mystery of what you were meant to do and be. To free the prisoner from his chains, to make the powerful care, to rebuild the nations with strength and goodwill, to call another everywhere, to bring hope to every task you do, to dance at a baby's new birth, to make music in an old person's heart, and sing to the colors of the earth. I am the light of the world. You people come and follow me. When you follow and love, you'll learn the mystery of what you were meant to do and be. When you follow and love, you'll learn the mystery of what you were meant to do and be. I am the light of the world. Of course, referencing Jesus saying that in the scriptures. To call each other sisters and brothers everywhere. I invite you to look that up if you're a musician or interested in music. StrathDmusic.com. Jim Strathdy. I am the light of the world. Dear ones, I wish you not only a happy new year, but a new year that can stir us from placidness. May you receive rest for your souls. May you breathe deep the spirit of creation that has been at work for eons and is at work here and now. May we hold one another in our hearts, in our prayers, in our struggles. May we name and claim all that we are and all that we have to give to the world, and those times and examples when we stumble and fall. May we look for ways to be the light of the world, to be ambassadors of the Prince of Peace, to be a healing balm to the nations, which begins right here with us, with your corner of your little world. I pray that that may ripple out, that you may be an example of the great gift of love and grace and hope and power and meaning and inspiration to others. And that you, through opening your eyes and breathing deep and resting well and drinking lots of water and wearing your mask, that you may receive that as well. So peace be with you, my friends. Every new beginning comes from some other beginning's end. Go in peace.